All right. That's such a process sometimes. I think we are good to go. I'm just waiting for Facebook to give me the confirmation that we are live. I think we are. I think we are live. All right. Hi, everyone. Hi. So happy to see you all here. Um, I know we probably have a few more people that are joining us. Welcome to those that are on Facebook as well as those that are in the Zoom room. So today's session is going to be a little different. Well, it's not that different, I guess. I'll start off first with some quick introductions of the program, the organization, and then we'll jump right into the presentation. So for those that may not be familiar, I am Magalia Synth. I serve as the Interim Executive Director for Hustle Winston-Salem, which is an organization dedicated to inclusive entrepreneurship. And Marketing Outside the Box is one of the programs that we do. And this month is the start of a new session, a new series in our Marketing Outside the Box programming. We do this program in conjunction with two partners in our community. That's the Foresight Tech Small Business Center, as well as Flywheel Co-working. And essentially, a few years ago, we surveyed entrepreneurs and small business owners in our community to figure out their biggest need, their greatest need, and marketing was at the very top overwhelmingly. Capital was second, obviously, but marketing did top capital. And we resurveyed a year and a half ago, and the numbers weren't that different. Marketing was still at the top. So we continue to do this program and provide different ways that you can think about marketing from a small business standpoint and really utilize that immediately into your business. So welcome. We'll have an opportunity to do introductions today, which I know over the last few months we really haven't had a chance to do that because we've really utilized the chat and the Facebook comments. But today we will have an opportunity to do some introductions. So before I jump into it, while I'm getting into our screen share, what I'm going to ask everyone that is on the Zoom to do right now is if you know how to, and if you don't, I'll give quick instructions. Change your name on your screen to a clue about your business or to something about you as an individual. And I need someone to give me a thumbs up or something to let me know that you can see the screen here. I have so many screens in front of me. Okay, Rachel, what are you seeing? I have so many screens, I have no idea. Are you seeing the art of virtual networking? Okay, perfect. So yeah, if you all can just take a quick second for those of you that are on the Zoom. If you just hover over your name, if you're on no matter what device you're on, you should be able to hover over your name and see three dots and change your name, change it to a one-word clue about yourself or about your business, anything you want it to be. So I'm going to do mine to give you an example. So you hover over, you click those three dots, click rename, and just change your name to whatever you want it to be. And it's a one-word clue about yourself or your business. And you should see that my name just changed from Magali to multicultural. So I'm seeing some changes. Good. And I'll continue to go through the presentation while the rest of you do that. And if you don't do it, I'm gonna start calling you out. I'm seeing a few. Perfect. So keep at it and we'll come back to that. So anywho, over the next few weeks during this series, we'll cover virtual methods and hybrid methods for networking. The topic for, I'm sure you all know because you registered, but just in case, it's the art of virtual networking. So we'll spend a lot of time just kind of looking at how that has changed just in this 1 year and how we intend to go forward with that. It's really interesting when you think about about this time next week was when the world shut down in our state, in our country. So really things have really changed over the time. So anywho, we'll discuss some similarities to traditional networking, and we'll discuss some differences over the next few weeks. We'll touch on concepts and we'll apply some of those practices. So again, if you're just joining us on the Zoom, I see a few more people just joined. If you're just joining us on the Zoom, I've asked everyone to change their screen name to a one-word clue about themselves or their business. So if you haven't done so, if you're having any problems with that, just let me know. But a one-word clue about yourself or your business. Okay. All right. So let's get into it. As you saw in our description, we truly believe in, it's not just us, statistics show, networking is an important no-cost marketing tool, and it can help put new businesses on the fast track for success. But even if you're not a new business, your established business, you've kind of been doing this for a while, networking still remains kind of the number one way for you to get new clients, keep your clients, build new relationships. But all networkers aren't created equal. The more you have to offer, the more likely others will be interested in meeting and networking with you. And this can be a specific challenge for particularly new entrepreneurs and new business owners. So according to an article in Entrepreneur magazine eons ago, a few years ago, small startups and new businesses are looked at with lots of skepticism and even some bias in terms of their credibility and likelihood of success. So, we've said it a number of times here at Hustle. Our goal is to make sure your business is accelerated and you succeed. So if new businesses and new entrepreneurs are being looked at with a lot of skepticism, and there's a lot of bias towards you, and people are not sure of your credibility as a business, and that's impacting your likelihood of success, we're not having that. We don't play those games over here. At Hustle, we don't play those games. We're going to do what's necessary to get you on the right track, and data is showing that networking is key to that. So even with that information and knowing and hearing that new business owners are not immediately getting the credibility, which is understandable, even with that information, most entrepreneurs are still constantly learning and finding that networking has been the most cost-effective form of marketing available. Not to say that everything else that we've taught you over the last 3 years in marketing outside the box isn't effective. It really is still all effective and matter. But networking really doesn't cost you a thing, honestly, truly. So the idea here is people like to do business with those that they know and that they trust. The best way to get to know someone other than working with them directly is through networking. So this means networking should be part of your marketing plan. If it's not already part of your plan, it needs to be. But what does networking look like in a COVID world, right? That's kind of why we're here today and what we want to talk about. What does it look like? So I'm going to stop sharing the screen just for a minute here, and I just kind of want to hear some people chime in with me, and just kind of share with me a little bit of what networking has looked like for you in 2020, post-COVID, and as we move through 2021, what has it looked like for you? Has it been a thing for you? What were some of your challenges? So feel free. Go ahead, Rachel. I see your hands up.
Honestly, these webinars have been an immense networking opportunity because, you make us talk about ourselves and our business. So, honestly, discovering these classes has been, I've met more people through this than I would have any other way. So thank you.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm so happy to hear that. Anyone else want to share what networking has looked like for them as we started the pandemic, how it looks like now? I'll start calling you out if you don't volunteer yourself. Go ahead, Mona.
Hey, I'll go. Actually, it's been better than I expected. I think it's because I hate to use this, but plant quite a few seeds before the pandemic. And then once everybody kind of settled into this life as we know it for the future, I was able to reach out to people. I had started developing relationships, and the relationships got stronger. And it's actually created some opportunities and more jobs and projects for me to work on. So it kind of, everybody, it was in their bubble and wanted to create more things, and I've had some great opportunities come up.
Awesome. I love to hear it. Anyone else want to share? And while you're thinking, I want to point out, Marlene, I did update it for you. I saw your message in the chat. If anyone else is having trouble renaming themselves, just let me know, and myself or Tasha should be able to assist you with that. So for those that don't know what I'm talking about, if you're just joining us, we have asked that everyone change their name to a one-word clue about yourself or your business, and we'll get to that a little bit in the presentation. But again, if you're just joining us, if you can go ahead and change your name to a one-word clue about yourself or your business, and we'll get to that. And if you're having trouble with that, just put it in the chat or let us know, and myself, Tasha, or Tony will be able to update that for you. Okay? So anyone else, one more person, anyone else want to share what networking has looked like for them in 2020 and in 2021 so far? And Leisha, I believe it's Leisha, and Marianne, I'll go again. I'll explain it again. If you are trying to change your name, you should be able to hover over your picture, your name, your box, and you'll see 3 dots. Click on those 3 dots, and there's an option for rename, and you can go ahead and rename yourself that way. If you have any trouble with that, just put it in the chat, and someone on the Hustle team will rename it for you. Just tell us what you want your clue to be. So anywho, one more person. Anyone else want to share? Joanne, did you jump on camera? Okay, go ahead. Who is that?
Hey, it's Annette.
Hi, Annette. We haven't seen you in a month of Sundays.
I know, right? It has just been busy, and mostly because I just really started doing my own business specifically and exclusively. So my networking has really been just doing Zoom calls. So it's all been virtual. It has just been through organizations that I'm working with, and actually like girlfriend meetups. So like my group of girlfriends in New Jersey and DC and some in here. But I hope to be more active on the networking scene. That's why I'm in your webinar.
Awesome. Yeah, so we'll touch on some of those ways to kind of navigate exactly what you just said, even if you're only doing it virtually. But again, during this series, we'll talk about virtual options, and we'll talk about hybrid options. And hybrid is just a mix of in-person and virtual. And we'll kind of compare we'll talk a little bit and compare that to traditional marketing and what we think that would probably even end up looking like as we move into 2021. So unless anyone else want to share, I'm going to go ahead and move on. Did anyone else want to say anything? Other good?
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to say networking for me has been better because I've been able to connect with people as a group and to target each person better. I'm more of an introvert. And so for me, it's better. I can sit back and see who I want to respond to, or so it's been good for me.
Yeah. And as we think about it, and we won't talk about that too much today. So I'm glad you mentioned, I don't think we talk about that at all in this series. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think a lot of it sometimes has a lot to do with us being behind a screen. There's a level of comfortability that comes with that. So yeah, I'm glad to hear that it's been better for you. One of the biggest things that we've heard in the past when it came to networking in person, a lot of people get anxious and they overthink it, and they're not really sure how to manage that and what to say and what to do. So it was always kind of daunting. It was almost a daunting task for business owners when they thought about going to a networking event or intentionally networking. So I could definitely see that, Marianne, where doing it virtually has kind of helped, ease some of that. So happy to hear that. Happy to hear that. I'm going to share a quick video and then we'll jump into the rest of the presentation. Let me see if I can get to our video. One moment here. Again, the beauty of multiple screens is also the curse of multiple screens. And just a thumbs up. Mona, can you give me a thumbs up? I can see you. Can you see that? Okay, perfect. And just if you all can't hear me, just unmute yourself and tell me if you can't hear it.
Make the most of virtual networking. When it comes to making business connections, lunches and conferences are out, and video calls, at least for the time being, are in. Keep these tips in mind to make the most of your virtual networking opportunities. Your video screen is now your name badge. In a virtual networking session, your screen has to do what name tags used to do when you meet people face to face. At a glance, they know who you are. So make sure that your name and company name are visible along with your face. Make a great first impression. Even though you are not meeting in person, you should still be on time. You should still look your best and be sure to convey your excitement about your conversation. Communication is 70% body language, so pay attention to how you look on screen. Maintain eye contact, keep your energy up, and don't eat lunch during the call. Prep your set. Pay attention to what will be in the picture with you. The objects visible on camera should reflect the values and personality traits you want to share. Pay attention to your lighting to ensure your face is well lit. If you are unable to be on camera, use a great headshot, and if you can, add your company logo. Have your elevator speech ready. You know the drill. You need to be able to deliver your 30-second elevator speech and why you are a great person to get to know. Make sure your speech is adjusted to the person or group on the call and be sure you can deliver it on camera effectively. Follow up. It's even more important to follow up after a virtual networking opportunity than it is after a face-to-face one. Grab a screenshot during the meeting and send it along with the follow-up so they remember who you are. Don't miss your opportunity to stand out in the crowd. Comfort on camera demonstrates how adaptable you can be, turning a challenge into your moment to shine.
So hopefully, let me stop that video one moment. All right. Hopefully you all were able to get some value from that quick video. We'll touch on some of those points that you just saw in that video through my next few things, but we won't talk about every single one. So hopefully you get those tips. And when you receive this presentation, this is another month where you'll get the presentation at the end of the series. When you receive this presentation, you'll have that link directly to that video to reference and just kind of see those tips, those 5 tips that were shared in that video as a reminder to you. But before I share the screen again, anything stood out to you in that particular video that is a tip that either you were already practicing or something you never thought to do and immediately now feel that you can apply it to how you have one-on-one meetings with people or group sessions with people?
Adding the company name with your name. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, that was a good point.
Yeah.
And also even to know how to do it. Thank you, Megalyn.
Yeah, Alan's not here with us right now. Alan is the representative from the Foresight Tech Small Business Center that I shared with you all. But if you all ever notice when he's on Zoom with us at Marketing Outside the Box, he always has his name and he has Foresight Tech's website. There's another person that every time I'm on a Zoom with them, they have their name and their email address. If you look right now at Rachel, when even before, not Rachel, excuse me, Joanne. It was Joanne before Unconventional, right? Joanne, even before Joanne changed it to Unconventional, Joanne came on with that description in the name prior to me requesting you kind of make any changes. So that's just something that you can think of. Anyone else, anything that popped out at you before we go into the presentation from that video? Yep.
The part where your background is going to be seen. So I'm in my room, which is my studio, which is my lots of stuff, and it's a mess. So you guys are looking at artwork instead of my piles of nonsense going on behind me. So I think that's really cool. It does weird things at times, but it's something looking at a mess.
Yeah, virtual backgrounds are a huge part of when you're trying to network, especially if it's a planned networking situation where you scheduled a meeting with someone. And you have the opportunity to do something with your background. Now, virtual backgrounds, believe it or not, is not possible on every platform, number one. And number two, it's not possible on every device. Like even my laptop, I don't know why. My laptop doesn't allow virtual. I mean, it allows it, but I look insane. Like the background is on my face instead of behind me. So I'm just not tech. I'm not a tech savvy person enough to care. I'm just like, I don't, whatever. So I just kind of sometimes make sure that my background is something basic, or if I'm in my living room area, I'll kind of make sure I purposely sit by my bookshelf or something that seems appropriate for camera. And then one key thing I wanted to point out, but I want to see if anybody else caught it. Anybody else caught anything else in that video that was just mentioned?
This screenshot in your follow-up note was interesting.
Absolutely. So that wasn't what I was going to mention, but Rick, that is so key, because when I first saw the video, I was like, man, I never thought to do that, like ever.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a key thing, especially during the follow-up session. So yeah, it looked like you were going to say something.
Yes. Also, when they had mentioned, be excited, make sure that you're not eating, and also to do a follow-up with your screenshot.
Yeah. So, what's key about that, depending on your, what your meeting is, or your event, or your intentional networking one-on-one that you may be having with someone, I think there is a caveat to that. And you'll hear me talk about it maybe next week a little bit, but let's just say your networking is a virtual lunch meeting. It's expected, go ahead and eat and have that meal. Now, there's someone in our community that kind of hosts, she calls it a charm school. This is what she would tell me to tell you all. And she would say, you might want to make sure that you're eating something that's simple and easy enough to eat. You're not trying to, fight with your meal or something through the camera. So kind of think through that, something that is simple enough to eat and things of that nature, because that is a way to kind of still provide some level of comfort if you decide to do a lunch meeting. And a lot of people do coffee. They do coffee meetings, and you eat. That's always simple to have a drink. So that is key. The thing that I wanted to say that they mentioned that I want to make sure I leave with you all before we get into presentation here is, when you're not sharing your camera, like more than half of you are right now, right? More than half of you right now are not sharing your camera. It's not the end of the world that you just have whatever Zoom, like if you're on the Zoom platform, or no matter which platform you're on, Google Meets or all these other different things. It's not the end of the world if you just have whatever their default is. But it's such a happier experience for everybody else if you have a photo. So take the time to learn your particular platform to change your default to a photo. We see 1, 2, 3, I think I see 5 people right now with their screens off that have a photo. And then about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 6 or 7 people, 7 or 8 people that don't have a photo. And again, it's not the end of the world, but it really does help people feel like they're talking to someone in the virtual space as opposed to a blank screen. So if you can think of a photo that you don't mind anytime you turn your camera off representing you, I always tease Tasha anytime we have meetings and her camera is off, because her photo, and Tasha's the person right now on her screen, it says admin. She's the person right now. Every time we're in a meeting and she has her camera off, I think she's right there just because of the photo that she selected. It looks like she's there talking to me. So the first time she had that photo, I was like, oh, you're not on camera? I didn't realize it. I just had no idea at the time. But it really just helps people feel like they're talking to someone and not a blank box. So different platforms, there's different ways you do that. Some platforms, you do it right there in the meeting, you can change it. but most platforms like Zoom, it's in your settings prior to you coming to a meeting, okay? All right.
Question.
Magdalene.
Yep. So I think there are 2 questions. So I'm going to call you by your adjective right now because I can't remember everybody's name. So we'll start with convenient, then we'll go to creative.
So my question is, when we're not on screen, do you think it's, well, I guess not better, but maybe better if I did a picture of myself, or if it's okay to have your business logo?
So I think it's okay to have your business logo. You know, the video that I just shared suggested that you try to do a mixture of both. If you can have a photo and then have something that has your logo. I think if you're like, for example, if I'm attending a conference of some sort and I know that I likely won't be turning on my camera, I'll have a logo because I want you to remember my business. Like, this is very intentional and things of that nature. Or let's just say it's a one-on-one meeting with someone that I requested because they wanted to get to know me better or them better. In that case, I likely will have my camera on, but for any reason, if I don't, it would be a photo of myself. Do I make it a habit to change my photo all the time? No, absolutely not. My default is a photo of myself. I really only change it to a logo if I am doing something extremely professional. Yeah. So hopefully that's helpful.
Yes, thank you.
Marlene, creative?
She took my question.
Okay. Perfect. And I see some things popping up in the chat. So Tasha or Tony, let me know if there's a question. I'm sorry, Marlene, did I interrupt?
Yeah, I just want to say one thing. So I did change because I saw Alan's that he has, you know, of course I tech on it. I did change mine and it's there. I know it's there, but you know, before we changed it to creative, or you changed it to creative, I just saw my name. It wasn't, so it's not me. It's, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know when it is going to come up or not.
Right, Marlene. So what's happening with you, and hopefully this is helpful to others as well, you're probably changing it in the meeting, which is why it was key that I said you need to go to your settings. So if you change it just in that meeting, you will only change it in the meeting that you're in at that time. For example, everybody that has their name changed right now, when they go to another meeting, you're not going to go to your next meeting and still be creative. You're going to be Marlene in your next meeting because you only changed it in this particular meeting. Hopefully that's helpful. For those that's just joining us, if you get a moment to change your screen name to a one-word adjective that describes you or your business, a one-word clue, adjective, whatever we want to call it, that describes you or your business. Hopefully we get to that. Am I back during the presentation, or are you seeing the YouTube or something? Okay, I think that I saw a thumbs up, but I also saw a hand raised. Is there a question, or was your hand raised by mistake?
Yeah, that was me.
Did you have a question?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
That's the thing. I did change it in my settings. It is changed. So
Marlene, I'm happy to
yeah,
to do a one-on-one with you quickly to see why it's happening.
Yeah, I think we have to do that because I don't understand why it's not. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's fine. We'll do it.
We'll send you an email. Tasha, if you can remind me, we'll send you an email, Marlene, to schedule that because that shouldn't be happening,
Good.
okay?
I know. Thank you.
No problem at all. All right. And I know a few more people have joined us, so please, if you get a moment, change your name on your screen to a one-word adjective or clue that describes you. All right. So the concept that we're going to go through today is,
actually, I think there's, can you hear me?
yes, I can. You're breaking up a bit, but is there a question?
Yes, it's somebody asked, what if you hold your logo so you can see your face too, unless you know how to superimpose your logo onto your photo? Rachel, creative.
What if you hold your logo so that people can see my face and my logo? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I think that's what she's asking.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. So here's the thing. There's not a right or wrong way to do this. I do want to point that out. There's not a right or wrong way to do this virtually. But to the person that asked that question, I think that's a great idea. Personally, I would love that. To be like, oh, I remember your face and your business. I think that's great. So So if you're asking my personal opinion is I would do it. Why not? So my default photo, just to kind of provide some context, my default photo is nothing business related. It's a photo of me on my college campus during homecoming with balloons in my hand, looking extremely happy. That is my default photo when I'm in my Zoom and I don't have my camera on. On Google Meets, my default photo is a picture of a crown. Because normally when I'm meeting someone on Google Meets, it's probably it's not a business type meeting. It's probably a more personal one-on-one networking situation. And if I'm not showing my face, you're going to know that I'm a queen. And that's what I tell them. This is why you're seeing a crown. I represent myself as a queen. So, I mean, I think it just different platforms for different people, and you just kind of think of yourself. I'm really big on being authentic. That's a huge part of your networking experience. So you're gonna meet me 100%. You're not gonna meet a different version of me, no matter the scenario. So yeah. So even with the homecoming picture example that I mentioned to you all, I use that picture because it just expressed it. The picture, if you've seen it before, I know I've been in meetings with many of you. If you've seen it before, I'm just super happy. Like that was just a happy moment in my life, and I want to share it with the world. This is good times, and it's a great conversation starter. Just as a FYI, I don't think anyone new that I've ever been in a meeting with did not ask about that particular image. Everyone. It's a great icebreaker. So hopefully that's helpful. Was there another question in the chat, Tony? No?
Yeah, that was it.
Okay, perfect. All right, so let me get back to the presentation here. All right, so the concept that we're going to explore today is random networking versus smart networking, which shouldn't be a lost concept on many of you. So random networking pretty much is meeting as many people as possible to discover who they are, what they do, and how you might work together, or how they might become a client, or whatever the case may be. A more selective strategy is smart networking. That means you're doing your homework before you network to determine who you really need to know, whether you're figuring them out by their title, by their job description, by the area of responsibility that they may have in whatever that they're doing. And you're doing that specifically to achieve your goals. So smart networking in a virtual space is very, very similar to traditional networking. So if you have something to write with, please grab a pen and a paper or pencil, or take some notes, or just go back and watch this recording, because I'll share some tips with some of the. Someone have a question? No? Okay. I'll share some tips really quickly about some of the things surrounding smart networking, and then we'll talk a little bit about random networking and do our activity if time allows. Okay? I think time will allow. So the first thing as you think about smart networking is you want to choose the right setting. Like that's really, really, really important in this process for you. So when I say choose the right setting, you heard the video mentioning it just a little bit. The video touched on it. When you're talking about choosing the right setting for your meeting, in a virtual space, that still matters. You know, in person, that meant a coffee shop, a restaurant, a park, whatever. But now that can mean a number of things. It could mean, do we want to meet on a platform like Zoom? Do we want to meet, and I'll share a lot of these next week, on one of these other like engagement apps that have been created, especially particularly over the last year? Do we want to engage primarily on like a Facebook call, video call, Instagram video call? Is that how we want to do this? Do we want to schedule something less formal? Because, you know, Zoom is kind of the formal version. Do we want to schedule something less formal on Google Meets and just have a quick chat? Whatever that is, you kind of keep in mind that whatever platform you choose is now your environment. You are choosing the setting for that meeting. So think about what it is that you want to accomplish with the person. Am I going to be sharing my screen? Is that something that I need to think about? Do I need to be able to give them the capability of doing the same thing? These are all types of things that you think about. And this is, again, when you're doing this smart networking, meaning this was planned. This isn't something random. This was something that you reached out to someone, maybe on LinkedIn, and scheduled something very specific. You sent them your calendar link or something, and you know you are on your way to make some real connections. So think about your setting. Choose the right setting. The next thing you want to think about when you're doing smart networking is your targeting your prospects. So you just heard me mention whether you schedule that through Zoom or through LinkedIn or whatever the case may be. So when you're targeting your prospects, you really need to think about the best case scenario. That means you want to kind of think through, what are your needs? What are your needs? You heard me mention in the beginning, or not in the beginning, but a few minutes ago, you heard me mention things like, figuring out who fits with your goals or what it is you're trying to accomplish. So you think through your particular industry. So in the case of, I'll use Mona as an example. In the case of Mona's field, Mona is at the intersection of arts and environment and design, and it's just so many things. So those are the, if you did a quick, let me use a platform, LinkedIn or Instagram or Clubhouse, let's use those three. Any one of those three, simple, go to the search bar, type in one of those words. And I feel like I say this word wrong all the time, but maybe type in biophilic. Is that the right word? Okay. So you type in biophilic, and see who it brings up, what companies it brings up, what individuals it brings up, and look into their profiles and say, I would like to meet this person. Or if it's not someone you want to meet, or a company you want to work with, you move on. But really think through that, and don't feel pressure to do it right away. Make sure that you consider, like, let me take some time, research this company, go read this person's bio. When you have some time, maybe just search through their LinkedIn, see who else they're connected to that you might know. If you do have a connection, maybe reach out to that person. Hey, I see that you're connected to so-and-so. Can you tell me a little bit about him or her, and their company or their organization, or whatever it is. It's all based, I always say this, all based on your goals and your strategy. So that's kind of how you kind of narrow down your target. You target your prospects. You're just not going into this blindly. The next thing is you want to be creative, and we'll cover this in detail during next week's session, so I won't go deep into it. But you want to be creative with your meeting with your networking sessions, whether it's a one-on-one or whether it's a group of people that you're going to meet with. You got to think about, in this virtual world, we are on Zooms all the time. So if you're trying to get on a Zoom with someone and potentially pitch them to purchase your product, your services, to work with you, or whatever the case, you need to make it worth their time. If we go back to that previous slide, what did it say? The more you have to offer, the more likely others will be interested in meeting and working with you. Like, that's key. And I don't want you to think too deeply about what that means. I'm not asking you to come out of pocket. I'm not asking you to give them anything. It means the more you have to offer as your company, as your business, as your individual. What value am I going to get in this 15-minute meeting with you, this 30-minute meeting with you, this 45-minute meeting with you? And if you schedule an hour meeting with someone, you better make it worth their time. It absolutely should be of value to them. Okay. So those are just kind of the things you think about in being creative. So how can you make this meeting creative for them? And again, we'll talk about some of those ideas next week, so I won't delve too deeply into that today. The next thing, as we talk about smart networking, you all can still see my screen. I mean, it's just a quote, I guess. But as we talk about smart networking, the next thing is you want to come prepared. And that could mean a number of things. That could mean prepared as far as knowing about the company or the people you're talking to. That means coming prepared as far as being ready to give, whether it's your 15-second pitch, your 30-second pitch, your 1-minute pitch, your 2-minute pitch, or your 10-minute pitch. Depending on again, going back to your goals, you want to be prepared in that moment. You don't want to kind of feel like you're scrambling, or worse, have the person that you're talking to feel like you're scrambling in this meeting trying to make a sale to them. Like, and ultimately that's what you're doing, even if it's not a very direct way of making a sale. That's what you're doing. You're hoping to eventually build a relationship, potentially get this person as a client, as a business owner. I hope that's your goal. Or maybe it's a partnership, whatever it is, they need to see the value in it, right? So come prepared in any way that means. Think about whatever questions that they may ask or that they may think about in advance. You think about those questions. When I have a meeting with a potential client, and I'm kind of mixed into a lot of things, but for the example of very specific events, my event clients, especially if it's a new event client, I will talk to one of my friends and say, if you were doing this type of event, what's everything that you would need to know? Like, I'll go through my normal list of questions and things that I think I would want to make sure that person knows, but just to make sure I didn't miss anything, because even though I've been doing this for years, there's always something you can learn, especially if your client is in a specific industry. Like, if you have other people in your network in those industries, reach out to them and say, what's important to you? And kind of, be prepared to address any of those. While it's okay to say during these networking scenarios, it's okay to say, I don't have that answer right now and I'll get back to you. How great is it to already to think about some of the stuff? So even if a question comes up and you don't have the full answer, how good does it feel to you as the business owner to say, I actually thought about that, I did some research, and this is what I found so far, and I'm definitely going to continue to look into it beyond this information. That puts you in a level of being prepared that's just, it's unmatched. I'm telling you, it's unmatched. I hope y'all are writing this down. This is golden nuggets. And then the last thing, not necessarily last, but the next thing is, don't overwhelm people. While you heard me say be prepared, you want to have your 15-second pitch up to your 10-minute pitch ready. Don't overwhelm people. Kind of feel the room, feel the vibe when you get in that Zoom with them. Kind of see where they're going. Don't just jump head first, and unless, let me clarify, unless you've already clarified that via email or something, that we're jumping right into this. So, if they say, well, I really only have 20 minutes to meet, you start the meeting off, well, I know you only have 20 minutes, so I'm going to dive right in if that's okay, right? But if that's not the scenario, other than that, don't overwhelm people. Find out about them, ask them about their business, and be very smart about how you ask people about their business. I love my undergrad university. I'm the same school I got my MBA from. I love FAMU, School of Business and Industry, because one of the best things that they taught us is how to ask questions. And for them, there was no such thing as a one-line question. That's not a real thing. Your question was rooted in research. That's just how, if you ever asked a guest that came to our university a question by just saying, how is your company doing, blah, 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 you probably just failed forum. And we called it forum. You just failed forum, because they trained us and taught us, your question is based on premise 1, where you research this company, premise 2, where you add some value, and then you ask your question. So a quick random example is, I know that ABC company just went through a merger in 2019, and you're probably still blah, blah, blah with that. That was premise 1. You have to find something with premise 2. Given that, we know that in the industry overall, blah, 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 blah. That's at the added value, your premise 2, right? And then you ask whatever your question is. That was their whole point of doing that. I understand. I didn't understand it then. I was just like, y'all are just giving us extra work. But coming out of school, I definitely see the value as I network with people, intentionally network with people. People respect that you took the time to get to know what's going on with their company. So don't overwhelm them with all your stuff and never show that you took the time to really understand them and how you are offering to add value to what they're doing. Because, again, I'm about to make up this statistic, so please don't repeat this stat that I'm saying anywhere. But I would bet that maybe 7 out of 10 companies, people, whatever, they're going to always work with someone they know, So that if that means working with people in-house, or if that means only contracting externally, buying products externally from someone they already know or someone who's connected, unless you give them a reason to trust you as a new person. And that trust is really built in that, wow, I think this person really do understand our company. I think they really do understand our industry. So that's part of it. This is all part of the smart networking part of it. Okay. So don't overwhelm folks with too much of you in your company.
Before you go on, are we supposed to be looking at the random networking versus
That's all
smart
I got
networking?
for you. That's all I got
Okay.
for you. That's why I told you
Okay.
take extreme notes. And you know what I'll do when we send the final presentation, I'll make sure all of this is included for you. I have this written down where I'm just talking, but I'll send it to you, but you can always go back to our recording as well. So any questions before I'm going to stay in the same lane, but I want to shift gears just a little bit on something. Any questions about that?
Yes, someone said, sorry, but your response was so good. Can you repeat your suggestion for wording response for saying, I will find out?
I really don't remember what I said verbatim. But
she said she'll look at the recording, but go ahead.
Yeah, I was just about to suggest that you can always go back and look at this on our Facebook page, but I'm sure it was something to the liking of, I did research, blah, 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 and this is what I found out. And based on what I found out, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. But to get back to your specific question, I'll continue my research or something like that. I'm sure I said something along those lines. So hopefully that's helpful. But if not, you can always go back to the presentation and fast forward to this particular point. So yeah. Any other questions before I kind of touch on something else? And I know I want to get to this activity, so I'm kind of speeding through it. I just kind of want to touch on a few other things that I want you to consider, because again, this is the only day that we're going to talk about smart networking. And there's a few things that I think you should always kind of think about that we did not have to think about. So everything I just shared with you before, these were things that whether we were doing this in person or virtually, you had to think about anyways. And it's just kind of a reminder that you still have to think about it in a virtual space. But some of these things are things that you would not have technically thought about too much if we weren't in this virtual/hybrid space that we're in. And the first thing is people's geographic locations. The great thing about this whole time is it's really expanded our network beyond our community, beyond our local community. So you find yourself in hopefully you're finding yourselves in regular conversations with people across the country and other states, no matter what it is. So, a lot of people are even finding themselves in conversations with folks internationally, which is great. But you really need to consider that when you're scheduling times. I can't tell you how many times I've received invites from people in Texas or someone in California. And I'm like, do they know that that's really close to my bedtime? Or, whatever the case may be. So as you're scheduling those things or requesting these meetings, allow yourself to be the person in the uncomfortable space as far as time is concerned to accommodate the people you're trying to network with. And again, that applies from a one-on-one situation or if you're meeting with a group of people. And again, all of this is about the planned smart networking. If you are looking at it from more of you're attending an online networking event, that's different. I'm sure that the planners of that, hopefully they thought about those things. 9 times out of 10, they're going to cater it to their community. They're going to cater it to the time frame is going to be catered to wherever they are. And you just have to adjust if you really want to do that. Prime example, just past week, I attended the Startup Grind Global Conference virtually. Y'all, I was in sessions at 11 o'clock at night. And I was like, but it took me a minute to realize, oh, they're in California. Like it's only 7 or 8 o'clock there right now, and it was sessions that I wanted to be in. And I mean, I just, you bit the bullet. You were just there because in the prior to COVID, I would be in California and I would be on the same time frame as them. But the sessions were just, the topics were amazing. I knew that it was an opportunity for me to network with some folks. And I did. It was worth every minute of it. But that's just something to think about. Think about people's geographic locations. The other thing is, think about how much time you need to meet with people. Prior to COVID, I think, yeah, we were aware of time, but we would meet people in person and we'll say, oh, let's just grab lunch, or we'll get some coffee, or just meet me at my office, and things of that nature. People don't have that same natural flow in a virtual platform. Like, people are almost kind of, 30 minutes is a long time on Zoom, you know? When we all know that. So if you're going to schedule something, just kind of really think through the time that you need to do it, and don't waste your time or their time. If you can get it done in 15 minutes, do it in 15 minutes. If you can get it done in, 45 minutes, do it in 45 minutes. If you have to get it done more in time frame that's more than an hour, let them know that. Let them know, I probably need about an hour and a half to get this. Do you have that time frame? This is actually going to take an entire 2 hours, because we have 8 people that are going to be on a call with us, and each person is going to present for about 10 minutes on these specific topics. Like, let people know what they're coming to, so they schedule. Because a lot of times, even though you send a calendar invite, which I'm about to mention something about in a second, even though you do a calendar invite, everybody assume a meeting is an hour or less. So when someone sends a meeting and you're in that meeting and you realize, oh, this is going on for another 30 minutes, a lot of people were not prepared and they planned something else, even though you sent that calendar invite. Caveat, calendar invites. This isn't part of my presentation. It just clicked in my head. It's cute to send people an email with that Zoom link. It really is. It's nice. And you want to send them that. If you don't want people to forget your meeting or be late, send them that calendar invite. Go to your calendar and send them that calendar invite to their calendar. And that helps, because even if whether they say yes or no, when they look at their calendar, they will see it. And based on whatever default reminders they have, their calendar will remind them, oh, I have a meeting with Marianne. Marianne, that just happened to us on Friday, right? I had no idea I had a meeting with Marianne. No idea. I just somehow missed it. And on Friday, my calendar reminded me about 15 minutes prior, and I was like, oh, okay. So just a good practice. Quickly, the few other things: group size and technology. Based on what your goal is, again, what you're trying to accomplish, you need to let whoever's coming to your meeting know if it's going to be more than just you, if it's going to be you and your team members, so that they know. And you also need to say to them if you expect, like, this is what we're talking about. So if there's someone on your team that would also be valuable, bring them to this virtual meeting. So think about the group size, and your group size impacts your platform. Now, this is a completely biased opinion, but anytime it's more than 2 people on a Google Meets, for me, I'm immediately annoyed. I hate that platform. But that's a biased opinion. That's just me. But same thing with, like, what is it? Teams. I think there's Microsoft Teams, and there's another one that I can't remember the name of right now. But just when you think about all those platforms, think about how as the size grow, the number of people that's on that virtual screen, how it now looks for people. And, I think that's one of the reasons why Zoom is very popular, because it's pretty much the same. But on some of these other platforms, everybody suddenly goes to the corner of your screen and there's nothing you can do about it. And you can only see that one person at one time, no matter what. And some people hate that. So you just kind of think through what it is that you're trying to accomplish, because that all impacts the experience and the information that you're trying to share and gain from whoever you're meeting with. And that ties to technology. I think I said group size and technology in the same sentence. And then the last thing that we really didn't have to consider before, but we should consider now, is kind of like informing people of any activities prior to. Again, if you're planning something, this is not as easy if you're just attending something. But if you're planning a meeting with someone, and especially if it's a group of someone, if you're trying to get them to do business with you or purchase your products or become a client in a B2B setting, whatever the case may be, and let's just say you want to do an icebreaker of some sort, right? Let them know that in advance. Let them know if you need them to have their camera on in advance, if that's important. Like this, whatever you can let people know in advance in that way, do so. Just say, hey, we're really gonna have a really interactive thing where we want everyone's camera on. So, and don't tell them that 30 minutes before the meeting. Let them know that when you schedule the meeting. So just as much information as you can tell them in advance, please do that. Okay. So with all of that I just said about smart networking, we have about 5 minutes. We might be able to do some of this activity. With all of that I said about smart networking, we know it's not always possible to plan networking opportunities, especially in a virtual setting. So, like this is a prime example. Sometimes you register for something like marketing outside the box. And your only option really is to randomly interact with those people and build those relationships that way. And there are obvious ways to do it in random networking settings. In person, it was really easy. You went to a networking event, you met someone, you either exchange phone numbers, exchange business cards, whatever. And in virtual settings, it's still technically easy. You can send them a direct message and ask them for their email or whatever. You can ask people to drop their social media links in the chat or their websites, and you can connect to them in that way. So it's still very easy that way as well, if you are consistent and you follow up with that, right? So today what we'll do in the next 4 minutes, we'll try another way that you can do kind of networking and allow people the space. Let me stop sharing for a minute. Allow people the space to network and provide that opportunity. And, when you're attending events, even though if it's not your event, if you know that it will be a good, especially if it's very specific to your industry, you can always reach out to the host, the person that's planning it, to say, hey, will there be an opportunity for us to really connect, maybe 5 minutes or so with others? And that's, again, you don't have to do that, but it brings value to them and to you. So what we're going to do now in 3 minutes, I had 2 games. I'll skip the first one and we'll do it next week. But this one that we'll do is the name game. So I'll get maybe 2 people, 3 people to kind of give us clues based on what you have on your screen, whatever your topic is or your name on your screen is. And I'll go first to give the example of what I'm saying. And you kind of figure out something about me, right? And that's the whole idea. You're trying to get to know people and figure out what it is. So I have my name changed to multicultural. And I like multicultural food. I come from a multicultural background. So that's why I chose multicultural. If you know anything about me, and obviously I'm not doing this from a business standpoint, this is a personal thing. If you know anything about me, I'm deeply rooted in my Haitian culture. So my mom is from Haiti. My father's from the Bahamas. I was born in the Bahamas. I was raised in Miami, Florida. And if you've been to Miami, you know that Miami is a melting pot of culture. There's a little bit of everybody in Miami. That's just who I am. That's the mixture of me, Magali, multicultural, that you will always kind of know that I love everyone. So that's me in a nutshell. And that's what my clue is about how it relates to me as a person. So if we can get 1 or 2 more people to volunteer and tell us about their word and how it either relates to them or their business. And if you don't, I'll choose 2 people. Milestones.
I chose the word milestones because my business deal with milestones and celebration.
Your business deals with milestones and celebrations?
Yes.
In life, like birthdays and anniversaries?
Yes.
Oh, wow. What is your business?
It's the business name is This Day Designs. It's for weddings and events.
Awesome. Yay, yeah. I love it.
And we also specialize in coaching premarital couples as well as marriage couples.
That's awesome. Fantastic. I love it. I love the word that you chose. Now, I don't even know if I'm going to say this word right. Rick, you're going to have to help me out, actually.
Consigliere.
Consigliere?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, I like helping people solve problems, not solving them myself, but working with people and businesses to help them, help them think through a difficult situation or an interesting opportunity and help guide them to a solution that they're happy about.
Awesome. I'm gonna have to go look up the definition of that word later, but I'm assuming it connects to what you just explained.
Well, yes, or you can watch one of the Godfather movies and discover that one of the uses of this word is the advisor to the big boss.
Oh, okay. Got it. And we'll do one more and then I'll just share on the screen what we're talking about next week. I either want to let's go with unconventional.
Okay, I chose that word partly because I was late to this meeting because creative was already taken, and I thought that's not really creative to be creative anymore. And unconventional, I do art, and I like to do the unexpected. So if I'm making a concrete leaf, sometimes I want to paint it purple because you're never going to see a purple leaf in real life. So I don't know. I like to have that little unexpected twist, and I don't believe all rules have to be followed.
I like you. I don't believe in rules at all. Can you share with us, because it kind of cuts off after a while. It says unconventional at functional. What is after that?
Okay, so what that says is functional arts.
Functional.
There's the letters for North Carolina at the end.
Do you and Mona know each other by any
artwork
chance? Have you and Mona ever met? Mona, have you met
Real
her?
life. I'm asking her now for her information.
Oh, networking at its finest. I love it. Definitely think the two of you should connect. Mona, since you're here, I know we have just a second, but why don't you tell us about your word too?
Biophilic, and I know people get confused, but it basically means design inspired by nature. So we all have gone through and are still going through traumatic experiences, but nature calms people down, and I create environments that help people to calm, get a sense of wellness. Also, it's antibacterial as well as provides other health and mental health wellness benefits. But if you look at a dragonfly and you look at a helicopter, that is biophilic design. So it's really using nature to inspire design and creative and engineering and art and all kinds of things that people aren't aware of. So biophilic means bringing us back to our natural instincts to survive and be healthy and happy in an environment.
Love it. I want to just quickly share what we're talking about next week. And for those who have to leave, please feel free to jump off after that. And then for those that can stay, I want to kind of hear a few more of your words. So next week, in the coming weeks after that, these are kind of the things that we're going to cover during this series. We'll go through a few of the apps that kind of helps you with virtual and hybrid networking. So I'll have a list of those available to you that you can download for free and use that as we kind of continue to navigate this space. Some of them you don't have to download to a phone. You can just kind of log in on a website or something. And then we'll really also focus on hybrid events. And this is not in any particular order. Some of this might be next week. Some of it might be the week after. We'll kind of see. We'll kind of focus on hybrid events and how you use that in your networking system, like kind of making that work for you, and how do you network in hybrid spaces. So when some people are at an event, but you're online, or if you're at the event, but the other people are virtual. So we'll kind of work through that and provide some tips around that. We'll really focus on engaging meetings, engaging one-on-ones, engaging team meetings, engaging folks at other networking environments virtually. And then we'll also provide a lot of tips and tricks that you can use throughout the year, whether we stay in this space or whether we are back in person, because even going back in person closer to the end of the year, there's going to be an adjustment and just kind of some tips and tricks around that and how you network socially distance. And, you know, as we kind of quickly kind of change, I think during this year in 2021, we'll see a lot of highs and lows with how people interact and just kind of thinking through those and providing some tips and tricks around those. So thank you so much for those that are here today, all of you. So glad to see you, and hopefully you can join us next week. If you have to leave, we definitely understand. But if you are able to stay, I kind of want to hear maybe whoever else want to just share, 1 or 2, 3 more people share about your word and what it means. So anyone, we have like 3 creatives on here. I think I saw 3 different creative folks. So one of the creatives, take it away.
I'm one of the creatives, but unfortunately I do have to run because I gotta
That's
go.
okay.
I gotta get something ready for a show. So yes, definitely. I will catch up with you next week. You know I'm always
All
here.
right. All right.
Okay.
Bye. Oh, the other creative just said she has to go. That's cool. If the creatives have to go, what about you, Rachel?
Hi, everybody. So creative is the most encompassing word I can think of because I have a background in graphic design and marketing, and I do chalkboards for retail, restaurants, events. I also do street chalk for celebrations, especially right now when we can't be together, and abstract paintings and pastels. So there's not really one word to cover all that.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Tony, what about you? You want to tell us about development, and then we'll do projects, and then we'll be done for the day.
Hello. My business is Building the Boss, and I just feel like it's my life mission to always be growing and developing. And with Building the Boss, I specifically focus on small business owners and those special entrepreneurs we like to call solopreneurs, to make sure that they understand that they're in the entrepreneurial journey as much to bring their idea into the world as much as to grow and develop themselves.
Love it. That's why she chose development. She's all about business development. Love it, love it, love it. And Annette, are you still there with us to tell us about projects?
Yes, I am here. Hey, I am my projects, my word projects, because I do event project management. And so that is what I am, whatever. So that's what I'm focusing on that. So I do it with including global protocol. So now doing events with a focus on blending the cultures. A lot of times people see that there's not a lot of engagement in their events because they're missing the cultural piece, whether it's from a different country, whether it's from a different state or a different neighborhood. Culture varies from family to family. So just not really taking that into consideration with events, you don't get a big impact as big of an impact as you would like. So some people are, the way countries and cultures do business is different, and the way they interact is different. And so we just have to make sure that we incorporate that in events. So that
I love that. Inclusive events. I love it.
Yeah.
I saw a message just pop up from Nicole. It's okay, Nicole. You said you came late, but your word is evolve, and you want to share that? All right, Mona, we're about to jump off too. Nicole, did you want to share about your word evolve? Oh, she's typing. To expand my pending startup and life philosophy. Okay. So evolve refers to your pending startup and your life philosophy. I got it. Awesome. Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you all so much for joining. Again, I hope you can join us next week, 12:30 to 1:30. I'll try my best to make sure we end at 1:30 in the future. So every week, same time, same place, and we're doing networking this entire month. And I think it's going to be really fun and interactive, the way I have it set up. So looking forward to that. If you have any questions, email us. You know how to find us.
Thank you. Great job.
Thank you. Have a good day, everyone.